G'day trendsetters, John with Gravel Cyclist. I'm coming to you today with another product review, this time from a company, ridefarr.com. They're a team of bicycle-minded individuals with a passion for everything cycling. Sound familiar? That's the sort of thing I enjoy, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it too. So this is the Farr Carbon Aero Bolt-On V2. And before anyone gets grumpy poo-poo pants, remember there's no rules in gravel cycling. So if you're comfortable riding on aero bars, good for you. If you don't want them, that's fine too. But no matter your thoughts, this little device will provide additional hand positions on your gravel bike. The other thing to remember that aerodynamics on gravel bikes could be a bit questionable, especially when you consider you've got a big gravel tire messing up the airflow in front of you. So at the very least, placebo is important, and if you think you're fast, you will ride fast. So the perceived aero advantages aside, this device also offers a plethora of different hand positions, and it doesn't utilize forearm support, so there's plenty of control. So for example, if you had to move your hands from this position to your brakes, you could do it relatively quickly. One important thing to remember though is do not ever use a product like this in a pace line, rotation, or a group environment. Generally, it's best to use this sort of product when you're riding by yourself. And also be cognizant of the road surfaces you're on. I would never suggest riding this on chunky gravel roads, rather smooth and fine. So that's the obligatory warnings out of the way. The Farr Carbon Aero Bolt-On V2 is now available in 4 colours, the original, white, green and oil. The latter option is particularly handy if you misplace your aero bolt-on in the dark. I don't have my super accurate gram scale with me here in Australia, so I had to borrow a potentially dodgy kitchen scale at the last minute from my dad. That point aside, the claimed weight of the Aero Bolt-On V2 is 98 grams, and that includes the titanium hardware, which are Torx bolts. So those are very handy. They have less of a chance for stripping out. So as you can see, the gram scale is bang on 10 grams over from 0. So that's a good starting point. And it weighs about 100 grams. So give or take a gram or two, I'd say these are spot on accurate, forgiving of course my scale here right now. They attach relatively quickly to your handlebar, a 31.8 for drop bars or flat bars, using an appropriately sized Torx driver. I like to just thread them down a little bit by hand first, and then position them and tighten them appropriately. And the torque spec on these is 3 Newton meters. Ridefarr also made sure there was blue Loctite on the threads, so there's very little chance of these puppies backing off once they're tightened down to appropriate spec. Now I don't have a Torx key with me, so I'm going to do this by feel. Some people may jump up and down at that thought, but I won't go nuts here with tightness. Just tightening them on the back side for now. Then I'll twist them around to orient appropriately and tighten down. So there you go, the Farr Aero Bolt-On V2 is mounted. It's a little bit difficult to see there, but you might be able to catch how the bolts attach to the Aero Bolt-On. And the really clever types will notice I've got a little gap on one side, so it's sitting off center. More on that in a moment. But you might also notice that there is an area on the extension for mounting a GPS or a light. Now that's not something I'll utilize, but definitely an option for some people looking to put their computer out here versus on top of the stereo tube like I have with mine, which is using a third-party mount. Available real estate on my handlebars is tight. I ride generally 40 centimeter or 42 centimeter center to center handlebars, preferably compact drop and no flare, but handlebars are a personal choice. Now, however, for this sort of gadget to be useful to me, I have to position it off center. It's kind of hard to see in this angle because my GoPro camera mount needs to be positioned right there and drop the camera down. There are obviously solutions to mounting cameras hanging off the stem, but I don't have the room for that, obviously. So momentarily, I'll install the GoPro so you can see how that looks with the Aero extension in place. Here is the K-Edge GoPro mount, and I always run my GoPro cameras inside of a case, just because the casing, or the lens, I should say, of the camera faces some extreme punishment riding on gravel roads. So it fits quite nicely there, and I'll just bolt this down, which I'll spare you the boring details of. As you can see, the GoPro mounts cleanly beneath the stem out of harm's way, and I've got a clear view of everything. And atop here is the full mount Garmin mount. So my Garmin 1030 in this case. So my Garmin snaps on right there. I've got access to the additional hand positions offered by the Aero Bolt-On, and the camera is down here, which I can also access easily. So that's the tech spec covered. How do the ride Farr Aero Bolt-On version 2 extensions ride? Do they give you an aero advantage? Well, that's questionable, and as I mentioned before, it doesn't help that I've got a gravel tyre whirling about the place like a sail. But these bars definitely make me feel faster, especially when I'm transitioning on pavement between gravel sectors. Additionally, on smooth gravel, which is the only place I would use these, they gave me additional hand positions to stretch my forearms and relax a bit. They also provide a nice break from the drops, tops, or brake hoods. And as a bonus, I'm likely to develop some bicep muscles. There isn't much else to say about this product other than that they are very well designed, good looking, not obtrusive, and really do provide some benefit to people looking for a perceived aero advantage or simply another hand position for some long gravel miles or kilometers. I hope you found this review to be helpful and insightful. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Gravel Cyclist YouTube channel, and don't forget to click the bell button to be notified of future videos as they appear on the channel. I'll see you in the next video.